friends! Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to Morning Tea with CJ, the show where I answer questions, we can browse the web and see what's new, all that good stuff. Well, it's Morning Tea with CJ, Morning Tea with me. Well, let's browse the web and see what's new. Yeah, you and me. Well, it's Morning Tea with CJ, Morning Tea with me. Let's browse the web and see what's new. Yeah, you and me. Welcome to the show. As you can see, if you're on Twitch, you can do exclamation mark drop, and it will drop a little thingy on a parachute. You can potentially get a score. So if you're new to the show, you can go to github.com/codinggarden/morning-t. As I mentioned, really we'll just talk. We're gonna hang out. I'll try to answer questions if I can. You can throw your questions in the chat, and we'll talk about them. All of the previous episodes are on this Git repo. Let's say hello to everyone. Thanks for the follow, Microsoft. Hello, Harsh. Hello, Mattia. What are we doing today? Kind of just hanging out. We might code on something. Hello, Gabriel. Good morning. Hello, Pranjal. And Pranjal wrote a dev.to article. If you look at my Twitter, there's a link to it. And I really appreciate that, Pranjal. He just talked about my channel and showed some of the stuff that's on there, so that's cool. Hello, Srikmad, welcome. Hello, Wouter. Hello, Pani. Hello, Microsoft. Hello, Spacey. Hello, Coding YouTube, what's up? Good morning, Jean. Hello, Noel. Thanks for the follow, Magico. Hello, Emmanuel. Hello, ATD. Hello, Hork. Hello, Ferruccio. Thank you, Gabriel. Good morning, Simjon. Ved says, wow. Good evening, Code. Multi-talented. Here we go. To Cheeky Riki, welcome to the stream. Hello, Shintan, and it's night there in Kathmandu. Hello. And it's night where Pani is too. Yeah, dev.to is a really cool site. It's kind of like a blogging site, but focused on developers. And there's really good resources all over the place on this website. You can definitely check out dev.to. Good morning, William. Welcome. Hello, Charles. Hello, Guile or Gil. Welcome. Hola. Good morning, Boyan. Joey says, Coding Train and Coding Garden are the most fun. Nice song. I am honored that you would even group me in with Coding Train. I appreciate that. Merchan has to catch a flight. See you on the next stream. Travel safe, Merchan. We'll see you later. Good morning, Heck. Hello. It's actually noon or afternoon here in Germany. In between noon and afternoon. Okay. Well, it's morning where I am. ATD says dev.to has essentially replaced Medium for me. Yeah, and the cool thing about it is it's focused on development, whereas Medium has all kinds of stuff, and this is built by developers for developers, so it's pretty sweet. It is afternoon in Nigeria. It's good to know. It's night where my ear is. Hello, everyone. Ronnie Jr. says, first question, what is a lexical environment? All right, we'll save your question, and we can talk about it. Coding YouTube has a question. I know front-end and back-end web development. Now, how can I make money? All right, I'll save your question as well. And all the questions that I save are going to go over here, and then we'll talk about them. Hello, Samir, who says, it's night there. Good morning, Nitish. Thank you. Thanks for the compliment. ATD says, Free Code Camp is working on a huge new project, a meetup replacement since a lot of people are unhappy with some recent changes on their program. That's very interesting. So I know certain cities around the world have a Free Code Camp meetup that they put on meetup.com. So basically, it's free Code Camp, if you haven't heard of it, is a way to learn web development completely and totally free online. They have a fully online curriculum, and part of the projects you build can actually help out nonprofit companies. So Free Code Camp is really awesome, but it's all online. And so when you're learning to code, it can be good to code with other people around you. And so it's nice to go to like a Free Code Camp meetup. So that'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting. ¿Cómo estás, Jimmy? Bien. Todo bien. ATD will provide the link. Okay. You can link it on Twitch. Twitch allows links. Spacey says, dev.to gave me a shirt for hanging out. It's a great and welcoming place. That's really cool. Charles says, I need a blog app that does everything with Vue.js. We can talk about that. Mano says, I started using Vim and found it really productive. How do you compare it with modern Electron-based editors? We can talk, like, people always ask about, like, do I use Vim? But I don't, and I have my reasons. So we'll talk about that. All right, let's check it out. Free code camp. It's called Chapter, a self-hosted event management tool for nonprofits. After several years of being dissatisfied with the existing group event tools like Meetup and Facebook events, we decided to build our own. Very interesting. They use Node, Postgres, and Next. Cool. Yeah, it's great. I love it. I'll save a link. So any if anyone else has like coding or JavaScript news, feel free to share a link in the chat. A self-hosted event management tool for nonprofits. Yeah, the last commit was two hours ago. This thing is fresh, or at least, I mean, the oldest commit here looks like it's about 18 days. So it's new. That's pretty awesome. Doodle says, I had a peculiar doubt regarding mobile apps. Let me know. Let me know what your doubt is. And thanks for the follow, Turtle Hygiev 19. Welcome to the stream. Coding YouTube says, I'm new here. Can you please give me a brief intro of yourself and your skills? Yeah, sure. So my name is CJ. If you're watching this video right now, you have somehow stumbled across the Coding Garden with CJ on YouTube. I've been streaming on this channel for close to 2 years now. Close to 2 years. And typically I build full stack JavaScript applications. I explore all things JavaScript. I build apps with React, Vue, sometimes Angular, sometimes Svelte. I build backend applications with node.js and Express, and all sorts of databases like Postgres or MySQL or Mongo. Really, I just try to build all the things. On my channel, I have a, what's it called? A show called Code Katas. Where's it at? Right here. So I did this stream on Wednesday, and I usually do it every Wednesday, where I will solve Code Wars Code Katas, which are essentially just like programming puzzles. And so I've been doing that stream for a long time. The thing about this stream is I'll solve a problem, but I'll also solve that same problem in multiple ways, sometimes like up to 10 different ways, just to show all the possible ways of approaching a solution and different things like that. So yeah, that's me. I stream 2 to 3 times a week. You're at a stream right now. And I've been coding for over 15 years. That's me. Thanks for the question, Coding YouTube. Good morning, Jay Shri. It's 8 p.m., 31st October. Are you on Discord or Twitch? Wait, there are parts of the world where it's not November yet? Where are you in the world? But that's cool to know. I do have a Discord in the YouTube chat. If you type !Discord, you'll get a link to join the Discord. Please pay attention to the welcome channel. Look out for a message from the Coding Garden bot. There are certain things you have to do in order to gain access to the Discord. Hopefully, yeah, there's the link. And I am on Twitch, twitch.tv/codinggarden. I'll share that as well. https://twitch.tv/codinggarden. Check it out. What's the cheapest hosting for Express? Let's talk about that. Harsh says, yesterday I read an article saying that we should start a serious project to learn more about web development. I'm thinking to start it, but I cannot give time every day. Any tips on time management? We'll talk about that too. Exactly 200 letters. ATD says, I just thought it might be worth posting since it seems like it would be a great project to make contributions to. I'm going to try and dive in at some point. Yeah, and so ATD is talking about this free code camp chapter project, which is an open source thing which will essentially replace something like meetup.com, and it's for nonprofits and open source things. Thanks for the follow, GoatM34. Hello, Patrick, who just finished their Sudoku solution last night. That's great. If you share a link on Twitch or Discord, I'll try to open it up and we can take a look at it. Happy Friday, Meeper. Good morning. Hello, Lynn. Welcome. Charles says, I want to thank you so much. Your courses and teachings have been grateful in my development as a front-end dev, so I want to thank you. You're very welcome, Charles. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for tuning in. Rick Matt says, I have a feeling that all the people asking about Vim is the same person. It could be, but I know there are a lot of people that are curious about it because they see other people using it, and I don't use it. Samir says, do Sapper. Potentially. We'll put that in the questions as like an option. Will I go over the new Suspense API? That would be fun. I actually haven't explored it yet, so we could learn it together. I'll keep that. Meanwhile, on GitHub. 2 hours ago? 10 hours ago. Hello, Yasser from Pakistan. Welcome. I'm going to try to do some Flutter streams in the future for sure. That's the plan. I might build something with Sapper. Yeah, I mean, a lot of web tools do have hot reload like React Native, but Flutter is native and it has hot reload, which is pretty sweet. So I'm definitely going to check out Flutter pretty soon. I've heard of Sails. I haven't really built anything with it, but we can talk about it. Yep, so I work at a software consultancy. That's my full-time job. Thanks for the YouTube sub, Rohit. Which programming is going to lead in the web in the near future? We'll save that question. Hello, Phoenix. Welcome to the stream. Doodle says, I want to know about apps like Facebook always track their user even after the app is exited. Is it something that is programmed in? Let's talk about that too. Look at all these questions we have. Mono says, well, 8 p.m. November 1st in India, but what Jay Shri mentioned is it's 8 p.m. October 31st, which means a whole 24 hours behind. I guess we could look it up. Oh yeah, that's good news too. So ATD is mentioning the they introduced concurrent mode. React concurrent mode. I have read a little bit about it. It's cool. I think it's overhyped. I don't know. I don't know. How to start freelance in full stack JavaScript. I really don't have any ideas or tips on that. I mean, I can sort of talk about it, but I've never really done freelance. I'll tell you that. I really only worked for companies. What are some projects I should show in a portfolio? That's a question. Something about ViewPress. Okay. Hello, the Oxd from Denmark. Welcome. Heck, what is your opinion on adults trick-or-treating on Halloween? I think it's great. I mean, yeah, I have no problem with adults trick-or-treating. Dressing up is fun. I mean, adults usually have like cons where they can cosplay, but Halloween is like an excuse to dress up. I think it's totally awesome. Cananello says, I was reading about axial tilt when the stream came through. It's just my break timer. Let's take a quick stretch. ATD says, I support it. I think the concurrent API. Hello, Apurba. Welcome. Can your browser do what Vim does? There actually is a Vim extension for the browser. Isfen says, how would you do something like copy paste a list of emails separated with comma and display in a text area with separated divs? Oh, that sounds like a very specific problem. We'll save that question though. Sometimes the tooling around React makes my head spin. Yeah, I mean that's my initial thought on this. Is like, why do we even need this? Like, I don't know. I mean, there are use cases for it, but I don't know. No, I absolutely agree. React is way overhyped. Are there any React people watching? Because React is way overhyped. Have I used observables in JavaScript for anything more than a toy app? No, not really. What do you think of them for structuring larger apps? And if so, why not? No, I haven't used them. I mean, you could potentially consider like Vue.js is... It's not using React RxJS or anything like that, but it is technically observing changes on your data. But yeah, I don't have major experience with MobX or RxJS or anything like that. What games do I play? Not many. I like Rocket League, but I only play that every now and then. I haven't played it in a while. We're just hanging out today, Apurba. You can ask me questions. We're just hanging out. Lynn says adults should be trick-or-treating for tiny alcohol bottles instead of candies. Wouldn't that be great? You can just go around connecting. I don't drink, but yeah, just collecting little alcohol bottles. Circmad says, what's up with smart TV apps? Like, can we use React Native or something like that? Because someone was talking about smart TV not having a Twitch app, and that might be a fun project. That's an interesting question, and it varies by smart TV platform, because some smart TV platforms actually allow you to build custom apps for them. Do I use Docker? Sometimes. Hello, Conman from Canada. Welcome. All right. Let's try to answer some of these questions. There's a lot of chats coming in. And for those of you that are bored on Twitch, you can issue a drop command. And that will potentially get a high score. So if you do a drop, you'll see it drop. And you're trying to hit the target. Oh man, that was a beautiful drop, Imphy. Oh my god, look at this drop. Okay, it's decent. 88. Cool. Okay, so this first question from Ronnie is, what is a lexical environment? So I think you're potentially asking, like, what is lexical scope? I'm just going to Google lexical environment to see if there anything else comes up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that. So, and I'm going to do some code samples for this. So let's do a new file. We'll call this context example. .js. And really, I mean, we could do a whole lesson on well, it's not exactly scope. It's the context of a given function, but cool. So this question comes from Ronnie Jr., and their question is, what is a lexical environment? So, let's do this. So let's say we have a function. No. Let's say this. Let's say we have an object that is a person, like this, and that person has a name, which is CJ. And this person also has a method. So let's say they have a method that's like say hello. So say hello is a function that just logs to the console hello, and then this dot name. So this should work. We're gonna log what is this inside of this function. Okay, so we have an object. It's called person. They have a name, and they have this function called say hello. And what should happen, hopefully what happens, is when I call the say hello function on person, this dot name should reference the name on the object. Let's see what happens though. So I will say person dot say name, like so. And then let's run the code. So we'll just say node context example. Person.sayName is, oh, it's not a function, it's say hello. That's a good call. So we have to say hello. Okay, so let's clear it. We'll try to run it again. What happens? Hello, CJ. So in JavaScript, functions have a context. That is, when the function is invoked, that function can potentially have some object bound to it, known as this, that can have some properties on it. So in this particular scenario, because we have the function say hello on this object, when this function is invoked, the way the JavaScript runtime works is that when it invokes this function, it binds the this, or the context of this function, to be the object itself. So you can see inside of the function, when we logged this, we actually see the object itself. And we can see that it actually outputted hello CJ. So in this function, this dot name, this exactly references this object, right? Cool. Now in JavaScript, you can change what this is. So by default, objects have this behavior. So if you put a function on an object, and it's important to note that I'm using the function keyword here. I'm not using an arrow function. That's where lexical this will come into play. So I'm using an arrow. I'm using the function keyword. But in JavaScript, you can change this value. So what if I did person.sayhello .call? So .call is a way of invoking a function and changing the this value. So you'll notice call takes in a this argument. And so we're going to pass in a this argument. In this case, it's going to be an object, and the name is going to be Ronnie. And you can also pass in any arguments to the function. This function doesn't take any arguments, so this is really all I need to do. So what this is going to do is it's going to invoke say hello, but it's going to change the value of this whenever the function gets invoked. It's going to change this to be this object. So let's watch what happens. If I run this code again, we see that the first time it's called, when we log this, we see the whole object, and then we see hello CJ. And then we see the second time it's called, it logs that little object where the name is Ronnie, and then it says hello Ronnie. So in JavaScript, you can change the context of a function by binding it. So there are a lot of different ways to do it. You can also look into apply and bind. So apply and bind are ways of creating a new function that is pre-bound. So call just invokes the function and changes the this argument. Apply and bind create a new function that that has a different this argument by default. So let's say I'll just as an exercise look into apply and bind, because they're similar, but they do something slightly different. And just as like, we're getting some great scores on this drop, by the way. We got Phoenix with the 106, Heck with the 68. You all are doing great things. Great job. Okay, so this is context in JavaScript. The fact that we can change the this value inside of a function, it's huge. That's what it means. So now, when we're talking about a lexical environment or lexical this, it is like, what is the this of the surrounding code? And you commonly see that term used with arrow functions instead of functions like this. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna comment out this example. Actually, so I'm gonna first copy it, but then we're gonna comment it out, because I want to show you what happens if we try to use an arrow function. So now, instead of making say hello a function with the function keyword, we'll make it a function with the arrow syntax. And let's see what happens. So we'll clear this, we'll run the function, and we see that this is just an empty object. And so the interesting thing about arrow functions is that they have lexical scoping. They have lexical this, and they cannot be bound. So even though I'm using call right here, you actually can't change the this value inside of an arrow function, because this can't be bound. And so actually inside of here, this is actually equivalent to the global scope, I believe. Let's actually compare this. So we'll say, let's log this, and let's also log global, which is something built into node.js, which is like the global object. Let's see. So this actually could be just the way node.js is running things, where actually the this is the module itself. Like the this is this file. It's not the global scope, which is slightly different inside of the browser. But when we're talking about lexical, we mean that this function is going to use the this of the code that's out surrounding it. So let's actually try to get this thing to work. So basically, we need a function where the this value outside of the function is something that has a name property, so that this lexical scoping will make a little bit more sense. So let's try to think up an example here. We could potentially we could. This will be like a really tricky example. Let's do this. Let's create a class person. This is slightly different. So instead of just creating a one-off object, we're going to create basically like a factory to create new people. And this class person has a constructor that is that takes in a name, and then we'll say this dot name equals name. So the way classes work is you can create copies or instances of things. So you can think of this like a blueprint. When we create a person, we're going to pass in a name, and then it's going to get a name instance or a name property. And this can have a say hello function that just logs to the console, hello, this dot name. So this is like slightly more advanced or more complicated than just creating the object manually. Now what we can do is we can create an instance of a person. So I can say something like CJ equals a new person, and I'll pass in the name CJ. And now what this new keyword does is it creates an object that basically has this function on it. And because in the constructor I set a name property, that object will also have the name property. So if we just log CJ, we're going to see something that's very similar to what we logged before, where it's an object that has a name property. We actually can't see the function logged because this function exists on the prototype, but don't worry about that right now. So let's see what happens if I say hello. We should see hello CJ. Beautiful. And if I log this inside of here like we were doing before, we see that the this context is that object. Great. Now, how can we sort of break this? We're going to try to use an arrow function. So now instead of setting this function here, which can be bound because it's an actual function and it's on the prototype, let's do this instead. So in the person constructor, and actually, I'll just comment it out. So in here, inside of here, I'll say this dot say hello is actually an arrow function that does this. And then we'll comment out the say hello here. Okay, this is where it gets. This is where the idea of a lexical environment comes into play, because now when we invoke the say hello function, because it is an arrow function, we can't change the value of this. So basically, every time we call this function, it's always going to have the this value of the surrounding code, right? So this constructor is for the instance, so this is always going to be that CJ instance. So now if we run the code, it should still work. Hello CJ, that's great. You'll notice that now we can actually see the say hello function on the object itself because we've put it on the instance, not on the prototype. Okay. Now comes the example where we'll attempt to change the value of this, but we can't because it always has lexical this because it's an arrow function. So here we go. We'll say cj.sayhello.call. We're going to try to do the exact same thing that we did earlier, where we just passed in this object Ronnie to try and change the value of this. So we'll pass that in, and let's see what happens. We can't change the value of this. So even though I used call and I tried to change the value of this by passing in this object, because this is an arrow function, it always has lexical this, meaning when I reference this inside of the function, it's going to be the this of the surrounding code. And the surrounding code is the instance itself. So hopefully this helps. I was kind of just coming up with these examples as I was going, so they may not be the best examples, but this is what we're talking about when we talk about lexical this. Cool. Great question. And thank you for the question, Ronnie. There's a lot of messages. Let's try and catch up, and then we'll maybe answer another question. There's some great scores. Octagon with the 94, Web Hostnix with the 75. Great job, everyone. Phoenix says, I completed the Sudoku solver. Here's my slightly unreadable recursive solution. Yeah, I'll take a look. Because the stream on Wednesday, I solved a Sudoku, and I took a really long time. I took like 3 hours to solve it. I did it like in an object-oriented style, but I took way longer than I should have, probably. This isn't, I can't even decipher what this is doing. So I know this does like math.floor or something like that. Wow. Let's just take a second to look at this code. Okay. Great job, Phoenix. I can't decipher it right now, but I'm glad you found a solution. Thanks for the follow, Science Num. Thanks for the follow, Jorge Pasco. Thanks for the follow, Jeffrey Red, and thanks for the follow, Stuffy Jester. Welcome to the stream. Hello, welcome. Hello, Stuffy Jester. Okay. So there's a question from Sanjar. Currently, I'm starting to develop a React component library, but stuck on how to write such a way so that I can theme it outside the library. Currently using CSS modules. I don't have a lot of experience with this, but I can talk about some of the things that you can do. Yeah, there's an official Vim extension for VS Code. This is true. I haven't really done anything with machine learning. I am older than 12 and younger than 40. Thanks for the sub, Jorge. Thanks for the sub, Ankit. Does my mom know I look so awesome? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think my mom watches the stream. I will answer the questions. I'll get there. All right. This website is built with Vue, so the one that you're looking at right now. If you go to Coding Garden, it is the repo known as Live Chat Manager. This one. And it basically integrates YouTube and Twitch chat all into one. Cool. And if you're enjoying the drop game, shout out to Instafluff. So if you go to twitch.tv/Instafluff, I think he will be streaming today. Yeah, he's hosting someone else right now. But he streams every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's a super fun place to hang out. And he built this drop game that you're all playing, so you should definitely check out Instafluff. Where'd the YouTube chat go? Is it over here? Oh yeah, there it is. Cool. All right, let's try to answer another question. Coding YouTube says, I know front end and back end. How can I make money? You can build apps. So like I mentioned, I don't have any experience with freelancing. I've really only worked for companies. But there are websites where you can find work as a freelancer. Actually, does anyone know any good freelancing websites? Let's see. Freelance coding. Freelancecoding.com. Let's look at GitHub. Upwork. I've heard of Upwork. I don't know if it's good or not, but I have heard of Upwork. And on Upwork, people can post jobs that they have, and you can bid on the job to attempt to write the code or build that thing for that person. So that's one way of doing it, is finding things on Upwork. There's actually a really good episode of Syntax FM. I'll point you there. Let's look at freelancing. Hasty Treat, Freelancing Hot Tips, episode 36. So episode 36 of the Syntax podcast talks about freelancing. You can see that in a lot of other episodes they have that are potlucks where they talk about multiple topics. They do talk about freelancing. I'll direct you there because, like I said, I don't really have much experience with freelancing. Yeah, and Ved is mentioning Upwork. Check out Upwork. Oh yeah, good call. So Danielle is mentioning Real Tough Candy. So that is a YouTube channel, and I am subscribed to her. Actually, you can see my subscriptions now. Is it going to be weird? I guess it's not that weird. Here we go, Real Tough Candy. But she does a ton of advice videos for like new coders and things on like freelancing and stuff like that. So definitely check her out too. That's not right. Cool. Yeah, lots of people are mentioning Upwork. Cool. Yep. So Charles says, I need a blog app that does everything with Vue.js. I have some suggestions for you. let's throw it in my README here. So questions. So this comes from Charles Asuya. And thank you for the question, Charles. Some options. VuePress. So VuePress is from the Vue core team, and it is a library for, a lot of times people use it for documentation websites. And just a second, I need to let my work know that I'm working remotely today. So just a second. There we go. So VuePress is a Vue-powered static site generator, so you can use Vue.js and generate static sites. It's fairly new. It's only about a year old, even if that. But that's pretty cool. And then there's another one called Gridsome. And Gridsome is a lot more comparable to something like Gatsby.js. So Gatsby.js is usually use it with React. Maybe you can use it with other things, but basically you build your site with Vue and then it turns it into a static website. This is something that's in the Jamstack. So these are two to check out. And that there's a comment from Infi. Isn't Vue always static? Yes, but like if you look at the Vue apps that I've built, They typically talk to a backend, right? There's a backend server that needs to be running, and then when the Vue app loads, it'll make requests to that backend server and like through Fetch or Ajax and load that data into the app. VuePress and GridSum are different because if you have some sort of code like that, basically it runs once during build time and it will like embed the resulting data and generate completely static HTML. So instead of having a dynamic single page application, it creates more of a static website with the data already embedded, so you don't need a backend server. So that's the difference between something like this and just a plain old Vue site. So I would check out those two things. Mano says, I started using Vim and I found it really productive. How do you compare it with modern Electron-based editors? So VS Code is extremely responsive. So so VS Code, I believe, was actually forked from Atom, which was one of the first code editors built on top of Electron. They kind of like pioneered the idea. VS Code forked it, ran with it, and VS Code is extremely responsive. So they've done a lot of work for like handling large gigabyte files. Like Atom used to just like stutter. If you ever opened a file with like more than a few thousand lines, it would be really hard to get going. Okay, Inthia saying it wasn't forked from Atom. It runs on a heavily cut down Electron. I thought maybe it was initially, and maybe they branched out from it. I really thought this was based off of Atom for a while. Maybe not. Maybe it is just Electron. But it can handle really large files. The plugin ecosystem is fantastic. The IntelliSense and all the extensions and everything that you can get going are great. You can get a really good editing experience with VS Code without a whole lot of bloat. I mean, the way I use VS Code is like I don't leave it running for a long time. So I've seen a lot of people that basically leave VS Code running 24/7, and that potentially could result in a lot of memory usage. You can always do the good old reload window, and that literally like closes it and like refreshes the whole instance. But I have had really good mileage with VS Code. If you do like Vim, there is a Vim extension for VS Code. Vim emulation, and this will actually give you all your Vim keyboard shortcuts inside of VS Code, which is pretty sweet. But when it comes down to like why don't I use Vim or something like that, it's because it requires way too much configuration and memorization than I am willing to commit to. So when you use Vim, you pretty much have to memorize what all your keyboard shortcuts are. You have to customize or configure what those keyboard shortcuts will be, and you will need to configure things like autocomplete if you want that, or things like IntelliSense. All the things you kind of get for free in VS Code, you pretty much have to configure when you're using Vim, which I don't like. And I like to use just the standard keyboard shortcuts. So like go to the top of a file, go to the bottom of a file. I'm on a file, I can go to the end of a line, I can go to the beginning of a line, I can skip over words. Like these are just built-in shortcuts that work everywhere, and I don't have to remember some weird keyboard shortcut for Vim. So I prefer VS Code over all that. The cheapest hosting for Express, definitely now.sh. It should be noted that they lean towards serverless. You can deploy regular Express apps with this. Anything that's using real-time or sockets you can't really do. So there's Now, and then also Heroku. So this question comes from Joey. So both Now and Heroku have a completely and totally free plan. So that question is from Joey. Yeah, so Z.co, I use this all the time. If you look at my some streams that I've done in the past, if you go to coding.garden/videos, I did a full stream on how to set up and configure Now version 2 with like several different types of websites. So you can check out that stream, and they have a free tier. You can basically deploy here for free. And then same thing with Heroku. So Heroku has a complete and totally free tier where you can deploy to. I mean, the downside of it is your application will go to sleep after it's not been used for a while. So that can be not an ideal experience for your users, because the first time they visit your site, it might be slow to load. After the first load and after it spins back up, it's a little bit faster. But you can definitely check out those. And then check out coding.garden/videos to see all about Now version 2 and how to deploy with it. Here, I'll share this link. Yeah, and there are a ton of chats coming in. I probably won't be able to get to all of the chats today, but I really appreciate everyone's questions. We'll answer this question from Harsh, and then we'll try to catch up on the chat. So Harsh is saying, yesterday I read an article saying that we should start a serious project to learn more about web development. I'm thinking to start it, but I cannot give time every day. Any tips on time management? So personally, I try to keep it free. Like, that's why I don't have a stream schedule published. Like, basically, if I'm feeling good that day and I have the energy, I'm going to stream instead of like scheduling it ahead of time. It's not like, actually, I'm not the best person to ask on this because I kind of just do things as they come and I procrastinate a lot. I know a lot of people like to keep like a to-do list. Maybe they plan the beginning of their day every day. I don't do any of that. I just try to exist. To my detriment, because I do procrastinate a lot. But I don't know, if anybody has any timekeeping and time management tips, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Okay, let's try to catch up. There are 100 messages, but we'll see. ATD is asking, has anyone worked with Gatsby? There's a lot of folks who think it might have coverage on the web similar to WordPress at some point in the future. I think so. So I haven't worked with Gatsby, but the whole, what's it called? The Jamstack, which is extremely popular nowadays, is like really taking off. Again, I'll point out Syntax FM. It's a great podcast, but they have some episodes talking about Jamstack. Like in their potlucks, they were live from Jamstack Conf. But yes, I think something like Gatsby or Gridsome, because Gridsome is like the Vue equivalent to Gatsby, I think will have a very significant market share in the future compared to something like WordPress. And the reason being is that it is extremely resource light. So with something like WordPress, you need a server that's running PHP. You need like a fully dedicated server that can serve up that WordPress website. Whereas something like Gatsby or something like VuePress or Gridsome, they're built ahead of time. So you build your website and it generates completely static files that you can just put in an S3 bucket or just put on a static file server somewhere. So you don't need a server running with PHP or anything like that. So I think, yes, I think it definitely has a future. Thanks for the follow, Arsho. Thanks for the follow, Der Albert Live, and thanks for the follow, Dresmel. If you're watching on YouTube and you see this weird stuff happening on my screen, that's actually coming from Twitch. So in the Twitch chat, if you type drop and then an emote, you can try to get a good score. This is my break timer. Oh, an Octagon landed for 92. We got Jerkmad at the top with a 96.49. Great work. Infi with a 94 and Dresmel with a 36. That's really funny that everyone has pretty much landed on the target. That's awesome. Thanks for the follow, ASTMNK. Hello, San. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Ariel, who's asking about the best tech to make PWA. We'll save that question when we get to it. Hello, Jeffrey Red. Welcome. Okay. Any suggestions on design patterns like material design, fluent design, primer, what to use and how useful they are? We'll save that as a question. Wondering how smart TV apps are developed. We'll save that as a question. We mentioned this website that you're looking at right now is built with Vue.js and Express on github.com/codinggarden/live chat manager. You can see the code for this thing that you're looking at. Basically, this integrates Twitch and YouTube chat all in one unified feed, so I can talk to people on both platforms. Hello, Danielle. Jorge is asking what keyboard and mouse do I use. So the mouse that I'm using is a left-handed vertical Evoluent mouse. Let's search for Evoluent mouse. I got this mouse a very long time ago. This is like a fancy ergonomic mouse brand. I don't want only the necessary cookies. Cool. And the cool thing about ergonomic mice are that, so when you use a regular mouse, your hand is like this, right? And that's a very unnatural position because those bones in your arm like have to cross over each other, and using a mouse all the time, playing games or working an office job can result in a repetitive strain injury of like wrist pain. And I've had that before. A vertical mouse is a more natural position for your hand. So instead of using a mouse like this, you use a mouse like this, so those bones don't cross over each other, and it's more natural. So over on over here you can't really see it, but I'm using a left-handed vertical mouse, which is basically this. And so the brand is Evoluent. I think they sell it on Amazon. And then in the chat, if you type !keyboard, you'll get a link to the keyboard that I'm using right now, which is a fairly inexpensive. If you live in the US, it's only like $35 mechanical keyboard. I don't even know what the brand is, but it's a good entry-level mechanical keyboard if you want to see if you like mechanical keyboards. Infi with the 88 score. Great job. Magico with the 94. Scrickmad with the 48. Could I make a video about Docker? Yeah, I want to do that soon because I've been talking about it for a long time. So yes, pretty soon we'll do a video on Docker. Ajax is asking about the VS Code extensions I use. There's a command for that. I keep minimizing this. Let's bring it back. So if you do VS Code, I think, that will send you a link to my GitHub with all my VS Code settings. So yeah, that's the one. So that has all of the extensions that I have installed. It has the theme that I use, the font that I use, and then you can see the settings .json that I use. There it is. Cool. Oh yeah, I also have a gear list. If you go to coding.garden/gear, you can see all the stuff I use to stream. So I got this blue screen behind me. I have some lights set up. I used to use a Blue Yeti, but now I use this very inexpensive condenser mic kit. I've got my little mixer right here. I got a camera right there. I'm using the HD60 Pro to capture my video over there. And well, that's the video from the camera. And then I have an HD60S, which is USB, that's capturing the output of this MacBook. I used to use a laptop to stream. Now I just have a gaming computer. And then there are links to the two keyboards that I use. So this keyboard right here is the one that I'm using right now. And then this keyboard is the one I have in my office upstairs. In the chat, if you do !gear, you'll get a link to that as well. Gear. There we go. Check out the gear. Gear. Cool. We broke it. Yeah, so the way the drop game works is that it resets every 30 seconds. So if no one has issued a drop command for 30 seconds, it will reset. Oh wait, and Majestic Eye with the 106, that might be the highest score we've seen so far. Actually, I'd have to look in the history, but great job. Okay, so now that it's reset, that's my my tea. Yeah, but now that it's reset, you can do a drop command. Cool. And thank you, Heck. Meeper is saying, do you know any web-based IDE where I can install dependencies and import and use other JavaScript files? I use Cloud9. It's no longer available. Yeah, so what is it called? Code Sandbox? This is a really great one. Yeah, Code Sandbox. This is almost like VS. It might actually be VS Code embedded inside of the browser. Yeah, let's like open the editor. So you get an editor on the left-hand side, and they have example projects with React, with Vue, a lot of other stuff, and then you get a preview on the right-hand side. So this will actually run like the Webpack task, and you'll see the preview on the right-hand side. So definitely check out Code Sandbox. And then if you have your own server that you'd like to set this up on, there's actually VS Code Server. And I've used that before, which is pretty sweet. Basically, it allows you to run a VS Code instance that you can connect to in the browser. Let's look for VS Code Server. Code Server, that's the one. And this coder.com, I think, is, yeah, this is like the hosted instance, but it's a totally open source project, so you can actually run it on your own servers, and they have a Docker container. So basically, you spin up the Docker container, and then in your browser, you go to the port of that Docker container, and it's literally VS Code running inside of your browser. And so this is awesome for, I don't know, like deployed servers. You could spin up like a AWS Lightsail instance, which are super cheap. Yeah, you can get a Lightsail instance for $3.50 a month. And on that instance, install Code Server. And now you have VS Code running in a browser that you can access remotely anywhere in the world, which is pretty sweet. So check that out. Yep. Science, ooh, JavaScript, how I miss thee. Welcome. Oh yeah, glitch is another great one. This is definitely really good for beginners. So Code Sandbox, I mean, it's probably good for beginners, but you can basically build like full-fledged projects on there. Glitch is awesome because they have this idea of like remixing and stuff like that. So yeah, if I do like a Hello Express example, I will actually get a code editor in here, and then they have an Express app that's initialized. I have a package JSON where I can add new dependencies, and here's my Express file that I can update and add new routes to and stuff like that. And then if we preview it in a new window, this is the actual Express app deployed in the cloud to a custom unique domain. So glitch is definitely another one to check out. Coding YouTube says, what is Next.js? I'm trying to learn, but I have no idea. I looked their website and it makes no sense. They say it used React on the server side. How do you run a front-end app on the server? We can potentially talk about that. I do have to go in probably about 30 minutes, but Next.js is a way of doing server-side rendering with React. And I guess we'll talk about this first because it's a pretty popular and common topic. Because traditional server-side rendering, which is things like, think of like PHP is like one of the original server-side renderers where you make a request to the server does some processing and then just spits out or responds with some HTML to the client. And then you can do the same thing with Express. So if you use a view engine like Handlebars or Pug or Twig or something like that, this overlay you see with the drop, that's actually built using Twig. Those things do the same thing but with Node.js and Express. So basically when a request comes into the server, it renders out a template to generate HTML and then responds with that HTML content to the client. Now, where that's different with Next.js is like a hybrid approach. So you kind of get the best of both worlds in a sense. So traditionally, React applications are like purely static. They only run inside of the browser. Basically, your website has to load the React app, which then downloads all the JavaScript. The JavaScript starts spinning up, and then you have a website working on the page. And so that's traditional React. But with Next.js, it basically makes it so that the initial request for your application, so Next.js, let it be known, has to be running like in a Node.js Express environment. So when a request comes into the app, it will do an initial server-side rendering of the React app. So basically, there's a way of taking a React component and turning it into HTML on the server side. So Next.js will do that, and then it will respond to the client with the initial page already server-side rendered and also potentially hydrated. So hydrated is when it has all of the data that it might have requested via Ajax or Fetch already embedded inside of the page. So that initial page request has the HTML rendered, has the data embedded in it, and it results in a somewhat faster load time, and it results in having like search engine optimization. So that's what Next is doing. But the interesting thing is, after the initial page load, it actually behaves like a React app. So initial page load is server-side rendered, but then when you start clicking around on the app, it's actually a single page application. So instead of rendering every request, it now is just making Ajax requests and like swapping out the page with JavaScript like you would normally just do with React. So that's what Next.js is. If you're familiar with Vue, there's something called Nuxt.js, which does a very similar thing. So with React, you have Next.js. With Vue, you have Nuxt.js. Oh, and Hork got a score of 122. Congrats, Hork. So hopefully that cleared things up a little bit. I know it was like, I'm like talking really fast and all that good stuff, but yeah. OOP JavaScript. Oh my goodness, I'm so behind on messages. This message was from 34 minutes ago. Okay, I'll try to answer some more questions. Samir is asking about Sapper. So Sapper, actually, and yeah, this is totally relevant because Sapper is the same thing but for Svelte. So Svelte is a front-end framework for building websites, and Sapper allows you to server-side render your Svelte. So that's super interesting. Maybe we do an example with this. I'll keep that tab open. Cool. Will I go over the Suspense API? I don't think I'll go over it because I know nothing about it, but this is a new thing in React. We'll link to it. You can read up on it. React Suspense. Impy is saying, isn't Svelte already frameworkless? Yeah, so technically, whenever you build an app with Svelte, all of the framework code kind of gets stripped away and it becomes a minimal amount of front-end code. I'm sure a similar thing happens with Sapper. So it will server-side render it, only include the JavaScript that it needs, and then it goes from there. So yeah. Where is Suspense? Here we go. Suspense lets component wait for something before rendering. Today, Suspense only supports one use case, loading components dynamically with React.lazy. In the future, it will support other use cases like data fetching. So essentially, you could wait for your component to render until you get data back from an AJAX request or a fetch request. So that is super interesting. We'll link to it. I think it's cool. Like, I don't know if you would really even need it. React Suspense, because I mean, the way you do this now, like currently, is you have some conditional logic in your render function that says if the data exists, show or like render the component. If the data does not exist, then wait for it and then render the component when the data comes back. So I mean, I would have to look into it a little bit more to know more about it, but it's interesting. I'll say that, and it's a new shiny thing. Oh yeah, Jimmy just discovered Sails. So Sails.js is a JavaScript framework for building backend applications, and it's comparable with Rails. So if you've ever worked with Ruby on Rails, Sails is kind of like the Ruby on Rails for the JavaScript world. And I've never, I've did one small app with it. I've never built a large application with it. But it's interesting. The thing about it is it has a lot of opinions, just like Rails does. And I don't like too many opinions. But you can check it out. It's pretty interesting. Node on Sails. There you go. We might explore it one day. I don't know. There are only so many days in a lifetime. Vet is asking, I think maybe which programming language is going to lead in web in the near future. I mean, for the web, you have JavaScript. That's kind of it. There's also now WebAssembly, but really WebAssembly just gets generated from some other language. I don't know how to answer that question. This is an interesting question from Doodle. I think I'll answer that one, and then we'll try to catch up on these 180 chat messages that came through. And thanks, Majestic Guy. Yeah, so Majestic Guy is saying, congrats on the Traversy shout out. You deserve it. Thank you. And thank you so much to Brad Traversy for shouting me out. So if you didn't see that, if you check out Traversy Media, which is an amazing YouTube channel, which I am also subscribed to. We'll just search for Traversy Media. Tons of tutorials and walkthroughs and all kinds of good stuff. But yeah, he posted this video, 20+ developer YouTube channels to follow, and he mentioned me. I've gained like over 6,000 subscribers in the past week, which is insane. Yeah, definitely check out Traversy Media. Make a video with What's Dev. Isn't that another YouTuber that he... What's Dev? What's Dev? What's Dev? Never heard of it. Check it out later. Cool. Ooh, just a second. Cool. Okay, yeah. So this question from Doodle about how is Facebook always tracking you? And the answer is with cookies. Evil cookies. Can we search for evil cookies? Evil. Ah. They're not, I mean, they're not evil, but so here's what happens. So you go to facebook.com, and I have no problem going there because I don't have an account there. But when you log into Facebook, it will set a cookie on your computer. So like if you look at the DevTools, and it's going to tell you this because really if anyone tells you to open the console on Facebook, they're probably trying to hack you. But if you click on application, you click on cookies, And you can see for facebook.com, it's dropped all of these cookies. And so these are just like values. We can see there are some other domains like FBSBX. I don't know what that is, but it has a ton of cookies that it dropped. And then somehow Google also has cookies for facebook.com. Maybe they have like Google Analytics or something like that. So when you visit Facebook, it drops a little cookie in your browser, and that cookie is now associated with facebook.com. So what happens is when someone embeds like a little Facebook like button, I don't know. Let's see. If I go to dev.to, do the posts on dev.to have like a like on Facebook or something like that? So we can like on Twitter. I don't know. What about medium.com? I'm looking for, let me know if somebody has an example of this. I'm just looking for a website that has like a share on Facebook button. Here we go. So you see this little button right here where I can click it, and it's going to redirect me to Facebook to like share it. But here's the thing. This little button right here is from Facebook themselves. So when you see a website that has this button embedded on it, it actually has Facebook JavaScript code. And that Facebook JavaScript code has access to the same cookies that are put on in your browser whenever you visit facebook.com. So as you travel around the web, every little site, if you're logged into Facebook at that time, and really even if you're not, because they track anonymous users too, this little embedded thing right here can access that cookie. So let's just look at the cookies for this web page, and let's see if there's any for facebook.com. Yeah, we only see the cookies really for the domain that we're on, but it's very likely that this little thingy right here has some Facebook code that's loaded from the Facebook servers that can also access the cookie that was placed when you logged into facebook.com. So now, if you think about it, this little widget right here knows the URL that I'm on, and now every other site that I go to that has this embedded share on Facebook, or even like Twitter is doing the same thing, share on Twitter, that JavaScript code can access the same cookie, and it knows who I am because I'm already logged in to Facebook. And the thing to note is typically when you're logged into a site, those cookies stick around. So like even if I close the browser or that tab, those Facebook cookies are still there. So that's typically how it works. They're basically like tracking cookies, and the same thing happens with ads on the web. So one particular ad provider might be the same on multiple websites, and because they have their JavaScript embedded there, they know when you visit all of those websites because it's the same cookie. They can recognize you. Yeah. Ricky is saying they actually don't need the button embedded. They just install a script called Facebook Pixel, which is used for ad retargeting. So that's the other thing. They could be using service workers. So if we look at application and we look at service workers, I might have disabled them. They install a script called Facebook Pixel. Yeah, so it couldn't be, that's a good point. And I kind of mentioned this. It might not be facebook.com, but it might just be some advertising domain. And actually, let's look at that. So if we looked at the cookies on medium.com, there's this CDN Optimizely. Actually, I have a tracker blocker, so we're not going to see any of it. So Privacy Badger is an extension you can install, which will block a lot of these tracking scripts from even running. We can see like pixel.parsley.com, app.link. My extension is actually blocking these things so that they can't leave that cookie in my browser. But yeah, that's a great point, Ricky and everyone else. Basically, it's not even the facebook.com domain. It's a domain that they own, and that's how they do advertising across the web, but that's how they track you. So yeah, I'll stop talking about that, but that's essentially it. And that's why I have this thing called Privacy Badger installed. So if you search for Privacy Badger, it's from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is an amazing organization that helps with web freedom and are advocates for web freedom. But you can install this extension, and it will basically block things from setting cookies in your browser unless you allow them to. The other thing that I have is this extension called Cookie Auto Delete. And this is an extension that will automatically delete any cookie after you close a tab. And so I basically have a big whitelist of all the cookies that I want to keep. So I want to keep my cookies for GitHub, for Gmail, for Twitter, all the things that I want to stay logged into. I've whitelisted them for this cookie auto delete. But then anything else, so any other website that sets a cookie auto delete will instantly delete those cookies the moment I close the tab. So like this website, I don't have it whitelisted. The moment I close that tab, behind the scenes, cookie auto delete deleted any cookies that website left. So cookie auto delete is another great one. Let's share that here. Coding YouTube also found me from Traverse C Media, so that's good. Yeah, and as you can see, I'm having a hard time managing all of these chats. So we have about 30 people watching on Twitch and about a little over 100 watching on YouTube. So these questions came in over an hour ago, and I'm just now getting to them. And I do have to stop streaming in about 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, this question about freelance, like I said, check out the Syntax podcast. Check out Upwork.com. Here comes Springer Man with the drop. It's going to hit the corner. Yeah. Nice try. Projects I should do for my portfolio. I'll recommend that Real Tough Candy YouTube channel again. She's had some videos where she talks about what are things you should and shouldn't have in your project portfolio. Infy with the 78. Real Tough Candy. Let's see. Oh yeah, and I think her most recent video was actually a portfolio review. So yeah, so she does some videos where she does this every now and then, where somebody will submit a portfolio for her to review, and she'll talk about what she likes about the portfolio, what she doesn't like about the portfolio. And the video before that was 3 reasons you should avoid Udemy projects in your portfolio. So check out Real Tough Candy. Something about ViewPress. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and you can check out Vim for Chrome. So Vim for Chrome is a Chrome extension that lets you use, Vimium will let you use Vim keyboard shortcuts inside of Chrome, which is pretty insane. Leet. Okay. That's a very specific question. I want to talk about TV smart apps because this was a very interesting question that came in from Strickmad. What's with TV smart apps? Like, can we use React Native or something? Because someone was talking about Smart TV not having a Twitch app, and that might be a fun project. So there's that. And then there was another comment from Infy that says, by the way, I always wondered how Smart TV apps are developed. Surely there's some kind of standardized layer. Surely Netflix and YouTube don't make apps for the thousands of platforms that are there. I think that they do. So there are certain smart TV platforms, like specifically if you look at like Vizio TVs, which I think you can only get at Walmart, but a lot of them have smart apps enabled on them. And I tried to build a smart TV app years ago, like seven years ago, because my Vizio TV actually had TV apps from Yahoo. So there was actually a Yahoo TV SDK. Let's see if it still exists. Yahoo Smart TV. And yeah, so you can see they've been creating Vizio apps since 2009. And they are actually web-based. So you can use HTML, CSS, JavaScript. There are some other APIs available to you. And you can basically use that to build the smart app. And the SDK has some examples and shows you how to build different apps. And then Yahoo Smart TVs have a smart app store where you can push your app to. There are some smart TVs that don't have an SDK. Like the main TV I use in my living room is like an Element TV. And I've looked into and I've tried to not exactly reverse engineer, but just figure out how are those apps on my TV, because they don't have a store. They don't have a way of getting another app there. Element Smart TV. And so they have smart TVs, but it's a completely closed ecosystem. There's no way of creating your own custom app and pushing it. But I would guess that similar to Yahoo Smart TVs, they are using like something that's completely and totally web-based. So they basically allow you to build something with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then this is just like a browser window that actually renders the thing. Yeah, what about Samsung Smart TVs? SDK. Cool. So you can download the SDK. It's the Tizen platform. Actually, no, I think Tizen is something Samsung specific. But I'm curious, is this platform web-based as well? Let's look at prerequisites. And you can actually get a TV emulator for testing out your apps. TV extension? Tizen Studio, or Tizen, is the official IDE for developing web applications and native applications for Tizen. So, I don't know the specifics. I've never built something for Samsung Smart TV, but I would guess that they also have a way of doing something that's completely and totally web-based, and then they have a way of publishing it to their store. So, yeah, if there are certain TV manufacturers that have an SDK and have an app store and they don't have a Twitch app, you absolutely could build a custom app for it. But it's my understanding that pretty much every smart TV vendor kind of has their own SDK. They might have standardized some of them, but there are probably quite a few out there. So yeah. All right. Let's try to catch up on the chat. I kind of have to go. Gotta go to work. Yeah, all of these chats are from an hour ago. Let's get through it. Great job, Phoenix, with the 106 score 51 minutes ago. Lynn is asking, how do I make images behave similar to radio buttons? While JSDOM adds and removes classes as the user clicks on the image, then hover. Let's see. Make images behave similar to radio buttons. So adding and removing a class as the user clicks on the image. So are you using React? So like JSDOM, is that what you mean when you say JSDOM? But I mean, JSDOM is a completely and totally separate library. But is that what you mean? In React, if I click an image, I want to add a class to it, and maybe you have several images, and let me know if this is what you're talking about, Lynn, if you're still there, Lynn. But basically, let's say you have 3 images, and you click one, you want it to highlight, but then if you click the one at the bottom, you want that one to unhighlight and that one to highlight the one that you just clicked on. Is that what you're talking about? Because that might be a fun little code example to do before we go. Let me know. Heck with the 68 score. Yeah, the drop command is only on Twitch. I realize you asked that 50 minutes ago, but yes, it's only on Twitch. Yep. Doc with the 12 score. No, everyone is seeing the parachute drop. Yeah, bind and apply are definitely things that are relevant when we're talking about context. And I mentioned them here, so look into them. I didn't show an example of them, but you should definitely look into them. Yeah, this is basically the moment that the stream is over, it's available on YouTube. I think I have a YouTube command on Twitch. Yep. So if you go there, you'll see that I'm live right now, but if you click that, the URL is going to be exactly the same whenever the live stream is over. Have I checked out React hook form? Actually, I think I have. Yeah, you can see the links are gray. Yes, I haven't used it in any official capacity, but I was messing around with trying to make like a Formic like library. So if you've ever used Formic for React, it's a way of building forms, and it has a Redux store behind the scenes that keeps track of the state of the form. But I wanted to build something similar, but using React hooks. And React hook form does something like that, but There are certain things I don't like about it in that it's still somewhat manual. So even though you have this library, you still have to add some custom attributes to your inputs. I would like it to just be magic. But yeah, React hook form looks pretty sweet. Yep. Gabriel says this doesn't exist on arrow functions. Yeah, so when we were talking about the context example earlier, arrow functions cannot be bound. You can't use call, apply, or bind with an arrow function. It always has lexical this, meaning inside of an arrow function, the this is always the this of the code surrounding it. It's lexical environment. So even though we used call, it didn't change it. It stayed the same. Infi with the 106 score earlier. Great job. Do I regularly use hotkeys in Bash? No, and really it's because I haven't really memorized many. I'll use like the clear command. If I need to clear a line, I think I do Control K, Control C. No. Oh, Control A, Control K. I don't know if that's a Bash command or if that's an iTerm command. But no, I really haven't memorized any Bash commands. Thanks for the sub, Alfonsia. Thanks for the Twitch follow, Apubar. Welcome. Hello, Ricky. Welcome. Hello, Amir. Hello, Emmanuel. Hello, Willie Lump Lump. Hello, Sakdevel. Hello, Just for a Dream from Algeria. That's great. Hello, Coding Pasta. You haven't missed much. We're just answering questions, and I did an example with where Ronnie asked about what is a lexical environment. So we showed some code examples about like what happens with the this keyword and how we can change it and different scenarios like that. And then we've just been rambling. Hello, Bagan. Hello, Christopher. Hello, Frederick. Yeah, I gotta go in about 4 minutes. I think if you have a burning question, or if there's a code example, yeah, where my YouTube mods at? Come on. Bob, I think you're a YouTube mod. Did you go back to? Did you handle that? So many chats. There's too many. Thanks, Impy. I have plenty of mods. They were just preoccupied with the drop command. And hello, thanks for the follow, as hell. You are I thought you were a YouTube mod, Bob. I'll have to make you one. Oh well. Get Some is asking, why don't I teach on Udemy or other platforms? We'll pay anything to be in your course. I am an anti-capitalist. So I'm trying to figure out ways to like monetize but still keep everything free and open. So I'm trying to figure that out. I think eventually I would actually like to have a live online course where you have to sign up ahead of time, but maybe we allow between like 30 and 50 people to actually connect with their webcam. You can be in a lesson with me, ask me questions, we'll have exercises, that kind of thing. I want to do that eventually. I have to figure out how we'll do it, but that I think is what I want to do, because I prefer the live environment. I prefer the interaction. I do have like edited courses on my YouTube, but yeah, like a webinar, something like that. But yeah, something like that. And thanks for the sub, Amor. Look, these chats were from an hour ago. Do I avoid any project for a long time, and how? And now you want to get back into it, but you can't, and keep procrastinating? Yeah, I do that all the time. So there's an app I was building on the channel called Snap Garden. So if you go to my YouTube channel, please do the image with JS DOM. So, what do you mean JS DOM? Is this like just a library that you can use? I thought this was more something that you use like in the server side. Because if you want to like emulate a DOM environment. Is that what you mean? Lynn? Let me know, Lynn. And Zubair says, I can't believe you crossed 21K after Brad Travers you shout out. Yeah, it's pretty insane. Thank you, Zubair. Viva la Snap Garden. Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. So if you look on recent live streams, there was one where I was building a maps application with feathers and React. Let's see. Yeah, this one. Chill stream. That was over a month ago. And I need to finish it. I'll probably try to finish it this weekend. But the question was like, what's your motivation? You kind of just got to do it. I procrastinate so much. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Coding YouTube. Octagon with the 94. All right, I have to go. I got to go to work, unfortunately. Oh, just DOM manipulation. I see what you're saying. Okay, we're going to set a timer for 5 minutes. And we're going to do a quick code example for Lynn that basically allows us to show several images. And we want to click an image to add a class to it that will like highlight the edge to like make it green and selected. But if you click another one, it will remove that class. So let's do this. What images should we show? I don't know. I guess we'll go to image. Let's go to Reddit r/ah. This is so cute. We'll have that one. So here's what I'll do. I'll create a folder, and we'll call this DOM example. We'll create an index.html. We'll create a app.js. This is where all our code is going to go. I was like, yeah, there's the image that I want. So there's a little, what is that? It's a cow. It's a little bitty cow. Oh, did y'all see this? This is an awesome Halloween costume. We got that one. And oh, look at the puppers. Yeah, we'll do this one. So your options are to choose between those three images. Those three images. So this is what we'll do. And actually, yeah, I'll just put them in the HTML. So in our HTML, we'll generate a basic document. And inside of here, I want 3 image tags for each one. So we'll have an image where the source is that. And I'll just have some basic styles that sets the image width to be like 30% or something like that. So we'll say images have a width of 30% and a display of block so that they will each be on a separate line. And let's give them some margin, like 1 rem, so that they have some space around them. So if we do this, we should see a page with 3 images on it. I'll use light server, which is just an auto-refreshing hot server. There's nothing special about it, but cool. So I have these 3 images. And basically what I want to happen is when I click an image, I want to highlight that image. But I also want to remove the highlight if it was on any other image. So let's just get that working. Let's say this. When the page loads, we're going to grab all of the images. So we'll say document.querySelector for image. And then for each image, we need to add a click handler to it. So we'll say images.forEach image element. Well, let's just call it element. And on this element, we can add a click handler. So we'll say element.add event listener. And we want to listen for the click event. And when this element is clicked on, we basically want to like add a class to it. So let's say element.add, so element.classList.add selected. So classList is built into all elements. I might have to look up the syntax, but I think this is it. So you say classList.add, and thank you, Zirkmad. We want this to be query selector all so that it gets all of the images on the page. And then we're going to add the selected class to that given element. So what I'll do is I'll just add a selected class. And this will have a let's say a border of 2 pixels solid green. And then let's make sure that we bring in our script. So we'll have a script, and its source will be app.js. Cool. So when the page loads, select all of the images, and then on each image, we want to add a click handler so that when we click the image, we're going to add the selected class. When we add the selected class, we should see a 2-pixel solid green border on it. So we'll refresh, we'll click it, and we can see it. It's not big enough. Let's do like 5 pixels, and we'll do line. Refresh. Yeah, there it is. And so we can see when we click it, we're adding the selected class. That's great. But what we want is we want this to be like a unique select. So basically, when you click another image, it should remove all other images that have that on there as well. So we can see all of these have the selected class. So we're out of time, but basically the thing you can do in this click handler is for every other image, remove the selected class so that this becomes the only selected image. So what we'll say is before we add the selected class, I'm going to, again, iterate over images. I'll say images.forEach image, and I want to say image.classList.remove selected. So basically, when an element is clicked on, we go over all the other images on the page, remove the selected class if it was there, and then add the selected class to this element. So now it becomes exclusive. So if I click here, it's green. If I click here, it unselected any other one, and that should do it. So hopefully that helped, Lynn. I'll push this code up to the Morning Tea repo so you can look at it and all that good stuff. Thank you, Majestic Guy. But I do have to go. Thanks everyone for tuning in. This was super fun. Let's see if we can raid someone on the Twitch. We always raid InstaFluff, and I love raiding InstaFluff. Let's see what Atomic J is doing. She usually does coding. Interesting. She's doing like stitch work. This will be fun. This is just it doesn't have to be code. Should we raid Atomic J? Yes or no? Let's do it. All right, so we're gonna raid Atomic J. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. This has been extremely fun. Keep an eye on the channel this weekend. I will be coding on that Feathers and React app thing. So that will be fun. But yeah, we're gonna go hang out in Atomic J's channel. She's doing some stitch work, patch designs. She does coding sometimes, but for now she's doing that, so that'll be fun. Cool. We'll wait for these drops to happen, and then I'll end the stream. Here we go. Coding Pasta with the last minute drop. Durkaral with the 80 score. Nice drop, Coding Pasta. 110! 110! All right, awesome. So thank you so much for watching wherever you are in the world. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.